Okay, sweet, we're live. Hey, it's Jean Goulet. I am back again, and I am continuing the redo of Chateau Grief 7 here. So, I went ahead and finished the lines because I kind of work twice as fast if I'm not talking my head off. But that involved a lot of renders. That was a lot of, just iterating through like I was doing before, and eventually it all starts to come together. So I'm going to do my flats and do my grayscales hopefully tonight or this afternoon. It's not night yet. It's almost night. It feels like night. Alright, and I'm going to deal with this mess of layers that I've got for the background, I think. Let's just scroll through pretty quick. Make sure that, what's going on there? That's not supposed to be there. Well, now I gotta go find, oh, I see, I need a couple of sky backgrounds in here to fix it up. Need a couple of, like, I don't know, blurred backgrounds that are not quite important, like behind Grant's head here. That'll need a background. So let me just turn my mask on to full, and then I change. If I stare at bright white for a long time, it messes me up. So I'm going to do the grayscale or the flats just over gray. Turn off text, turn off these boxes, and to get my flats, I want to turn off my sketch layer too. Let's see. Alright, so to start this, remember if you were here before and seen me do these lines, I'm careful that I've got like a closed path all around the outside. And this is so I can do this bit where I just select outside. And I don't want anti-aliasing. So I just want it aliasing, which it's fun learning the technical definition of aliasing, but in this case we want aliasing. And then I'm just going to go and select, oh, not in there, that little piece, all of these outside of the shape outlines. Just go through and grab them. I've got this on tolerance 10. That's making this job a lot easier because it's not going to go through gaps. It's going to mess up in places like that. And you also want contiguous checked. Like in between his fingers here, you get a little piece selected. And I'm going to have to go and kind of edit these. It's not a perfect selection, but it's definitely faster than painting the outlines for the flats. Couple of clicks here. And alright, I look pretty done. Alright, and then I am going to, Command Y, expand the selection. I find about 3 pixels works for the thickness of the lines that I use. Be less thick if you're using finer lines. And then I'll invert it, which is Shift Command I. Make flats layer. And I'm just going to fill it in with skin color. And I will lock transparency on the flats layer, swap over to a pencil, and off I go. Let's see, make sure it's 100%. And I never like this part. You can go with selecting inside your lines and do the same expanding thing, and that'll get you pretty good flats, but it won't get like perfect ones. I do another trick on the line, so even if your flats aren't perfect, it doesn't really matter. But for now, recently I've been just sort of dividing up my shapes into with the pen, and then filling. So once I get all these colors up, it'll be a little easier. I always get his tie first. Kind of put a few lines down that. Now this is like, oh, where did his tie go? So I'll just sort of draw it in, and you won't notice that it's missing a line. Then selecting your remaining color so you can draw around it helps sometimes. And see, I've got this selected, so I can just go straight across the neck there. Not worry about messing up the tie, because I've selected that peach color. And then just sort of go around stuff roughly. Put in my flats. Oh man, and then, you know, keeping a nice palette of colors is it's a really helpful thing. Let's see, which one am I looking for here? Then it's like, okay, well, which color was I supposed to do for Grant, particularly his jacket color? I picked poorly on this. It's like really, I don't know. When you see it in finished form, it looks fine and different, but without the grayscale modifications, it's really close to his hair color, especially in these little, I wish you could, you know, enlarge your color swatches in Photoshop, but you can't. And, or at least you can't that I know of. And it's difficult for me to tell, you know, what is, oh, and this, that's right, because Shane is kind of wearing all black here. So this is a very neutral black that he's got. Gray, there's no warmth to it. Grant's suit gray is kind of like purple. And then for Shane's hair color, it's actually quite a lot darker and a little bit bluer to get that black hair. Needs, I think, a little bit of extra tone to it. But let's see, drawing his tie. I usually just ink his tie, but I didn't here. And give his shirt some, this isn't white, it's actually a gray. It's pretty dark gray. But all shirts and Sandrew's hair, same color. And it really reads as white rather than gray. I was kind of originally meaning for it to read more gray. I don't want that opacity to be 100%. And when I'm filling, I don't need the contiguous, though it is faster if I just leave it on. Sometimes I accidentally change the opacity of some things. Like, I'll change the opacity of the brush as I'm enlarging it, because I think if you drag it up and down, it'll resize it. And up and down is opacity, and then side to side is size. I do that a lot, but I always want my opacity at 100%, or you get in trouble with flats. Well, let's see, this flat shouldn't go so long. There's not that many frames here. I fixed my pen pad. I fixed the pen pad. That was nice to do. So after I got the new one, I was drawing on it during the last live stream, and it was you know, new and not scuffed up and rough. Well, I mean, it's not rough. It's actually, I have worn down the surface of my tablet really smooth. And I've somehow done this without actually wearing the nib of my pen down very much. So it just felt really different, and there was a lot of resistance to my hand when I was doing that yesterday, and it felt kind of weird. So I said, well, you know, let me see. I think the pen is the broken piece. Let me see if I can pair this new pen with my old tablet, then I can use the surface that I like. And it turned out that when I tried that, it wasn't the pen that was broken, it was the tablet. So I said, oh, well, I've already taken the pen apart and I've cleaned all the connectors, and there's 2 coils in each end of the pen, and I took they're copper coils, so I took some vinegar out, which is a great way to get corrosion off of copper. And I also, you know, steel wooled a little bit on them to shine them up a bit. So I'd already done that, made no difference. I thought, well, I'll just rip the tablet apart and we can see what's inside and what's going on with the tablet. And tablet is easier to get apart than the pen is. There's 4 screws in these Wacom tablets. 2 of them were under some sticky feet at the bottom, so I just peeled the sticky feet off and put them back when I was done. And inside the tablet, it snaps off. There's a whole bunch of plastic snaps that kind of have to be gently unsnapped, or you might rip it if you try too hard. But it's, you know, pretty standard computer snap. And I got inside and I went, oh wow, it's filthy in here. Even though it's like really, it's kind of press fit together, really closely fit, the just dirt and junk had gotten in there. Looking for Grant's Gray again. There we go. And so I got my, I keep a little can of air for dusting out computer keyboards and stuff, which is really useful. So I got that out and I sprayed it out, and I noticed that across the whole back there's this big flat piece of conductive electrical sort of board that is somehow reading your touches from the pen. And by leaning your arm on it, you're actually pressing this top surface down onto this bottom piece of the casing, which has got a couple of little reinforcing spars across it. Spar is not the right word. They're little pieces of plastic that stick up to give it a little bit more strength. And it was kind of rubbing on that, and because there was dirt and things in there, it had just kind of gotten itself grimed up over the years. So I took some screen cleaner and wiped it down, and all the, you know, the electrons could flow across the surface again, and it started working. So I am now doing this on my old tablet that was totally bricked, you know, 2 days ago. So there you have it. Now I have an extra tablet for redundancy, but I might actually go in and sand the top of that tablet, that new one, just because it was making my wrist ache just to have that little bit of resistance. I'm really sensitive to this. I do not want to put any more stress than necessary on my hand as I'm drawing. And I know like Wacom specifically added that feature to make it feel a little bit more like drawing on paper, and it does. But I'm just like, you know, it's nice to feel like you're drawing on paper, but it's a luxury I really can't afford. I would rather have my hand not hurt at the end of the day, especially when I'm doing it for so many hours. What color was I doing? Xander's shoes, just like gray, I think. same color the chain's getting though, so that's easy. I keep my palette tab open. I keep selecting from it. Just grab the edges, fill, grab the edges, fill. That was kind of a nice victory after whining so hard about not being able to draw and having all these problems, and then getting the pen apart, which the pen is press fit, by the way. This just slides out. You can wiggle it loose and then you can press fit it back together. Do it gently or you'll break it, but I didn't break it. I ripped the pen. I ripped all the pen pieces out and put them back together, so it's durable. It's fairly durable. Needed oh yeah, that's right, for the tablet, these screws are very small. They're smaller than like standard computer screws, or at least I was having trouble getting a screwdriver that could fit, that was also strong enough that when I put torque on the screwdriver it could hold, because I have like a pair of eyeglasses screwdrivers for really small applications. I was bending them and I thought, oh no, I'm going to snap this screwdriver if I keep pulling on it. So what I did to loosen the screws is I put a piece of metal in the oven. We make these blacksmith forks and stuff. So, it was about 1/4 inch steel. It was actually like a fork for, like, I don't know, if you wanted to barbecue chicken or something, for grabbing your chicken out of maybe your marinade or something, putting it on a barbecue grill. It's just a kind of a standard barbecue fork. Oh gosh, why did I go all the way around that if I'm just gonna make his pants the same color? Oh well. So I heated this fork up in the oven for about 15 minutes on broil or something to get a nice amount of a heat sink, because I couldn't get these screws out. And then I held it to the screw, hot, careful not to touch it to the plastic, just enough to kind of expand the metal of the screw a little bit and help loosen it. And indeed, as it worked like a charm, it didn't melt the plastic, but it expanded it enough that I could then get in there and use my larger screwdriver and make it unscrew, force it to work. So that was a little adventure. The fork turns a beautiful blue as you temper the metal in the heat, but that was a separate issue. Anyways, so I was like, what do I do? Do I like get out a soldering iron and try and heat this up? I mean, how do you get out a screw that's stuck that you can't get out? What is here? I should probably make this. So I'm like kind of going through here and editing my lines where lines aren't, just to get my colors right. We'll get through this pretty fast. This goes pretty quickly. It's the grayscale that takes forever. It took me forever to figure out this grayscale process. And I'm sure I've got a lot more to learn on it, but I really wanted a particular look and I couldn't figure out how to get it. I spent ages like fiddling with all these Photoshop tools trying to figure this out. That's an easy select. Why am I fighting with this one? Let's take that out by 4. Throw down the flats. So there's a combo set of tools that I use for the grayscales to make them fast, but it's still like 5 minutes per frame or something. I wish it was faster than that, but what can you do? It really does help. It's worth spending 5 minutes per frame to grayscale it rather than just have it flat. Where's that black hair? Here we go. Shirt. So I'm doing a lot of left-hand work here with selecting and deselecting. I don't know about keystrokes. There's like any keystroke oh, hey, Logan, he says, I don't know if you can see this, but are you currently using a Wacom tablet? Yes, I am. I am using a CTH 480 Intuos Pen and Touch Small. And I really looked this up and tried to I don't know, just tried to figure out how to get it apart. I couldn't find anything. I guess these are kind of old. I could not find anything about how to, particularly these pens, like what is inside the pen and how to get them apart. So I don't know. I had to like get all brave, like, oh, it's dead anyways. It's totally crashed. There's nothing that I can do to make this situation worse than it possibly is. I might as well crack it open. And so, yeah, that's when I really started like applying pressure and wiggling stuff. And the pen will just wiggle apart, and the tablet kind of have to get in there and pop open the little snaps, but it's pretty standard method of construction for that. I didn't take off the boards. There are screws in the tablet where you can actually take the boards off. There's a whole bunch of little ribbon cables. There's these like really fine ribbon cables where you flip up this little plastic piece and then the ribbon cable unhooks. A lot of laptop keyboards are hooked up that way. There was about 4 or 5 of those, and I was staring at those going, those don't really look like they're put in the best, that doesn't look like that ribbon cable kind of looks like it's going in sideways a little, so if my cleaning the electrical plate hadn't worked, I was going to go and unhook all the ribbon cables and hook them back in square, and then I was going to like take the chips off, because there are screws on the chips that you can take off too. But I was like, nope, test every test every step of the way, and worked on the first try. And it's good to have it back, because I missed that feel, this smooth feel of the surface of the tablet. Yeah, and it was like making my wrist hurt a little bit yesterday. I don't know, temperamental, whatever. Let's see. Is this the last one that we... No, okay, so we're past the lines that I did yesterday. I was working on these other lines later in the evening. Just kind of... Oh, let's see. Now here's some stuff. You don't have to unlock the transparency of a layer to delete stuff with a lasso tool. So I find that, fairly helpful, because then I don't have to move my hand off of the drawing spot, really. I don't know, it's just easier for my workflow if I don't have to constantly change the transparency on the flats layer. Wait, where's the white? Fix that. And oh, messed that up. I can also just select stuff that's been well, everybody knows about the Alt key. I think it's the Alt key to bring up the eyedropper. I think everybody knows about that. It's handy. And Grant over here, where's his? Sometimes it's just easier to find it based upon the other colors that are around for these weird grays. But I know if it's Grant's gray or not when I stick it up there, but I listed it in my color thing next to his hair color. They look identical to me. Let's see, where's his hair color? Here it is. I'll show you here. When you put it up on the screen, it doesn't look identical. See? It's like, that's not the same color. Not even close. Not even close. Oh, hey, Logan. Yeah, you know, if it's shaking, there was definitely tons of grime in mine. So especially if it's old and you've got like using it, I think your arm just sort of rubbing across the surface kind of gets, I don't know, grime inside it. So it might be worth taking it apart just for that. I mean, I don't know if you're confident taking apart computers and stuff, but I always say to myself when, you know, it's like stuck and it won't work, I say, it didn't grow together. So it's got to come apart somehow. But this wasn't a really difficult one to take apart, especially the tablet. But if it's shaking, it's like it's shaking because you're not getting a good signal. You're getting a signal. It's just a bad signal. So I don't know, maybe take a look on the inside. I hear a lot of people complaining about Wacom tablets being well, I mean, they die. I hear artists talking about this all the time. It's like, oh, my tablet died, I had to get a new one. And there's like no market for refurbished ones. And everything that I tried to look up online was like, don't even bother taking them apart. All you have is like induction coils in these pens. And I'm like, oh, induction coils? Well, you know, those can be polished. It's like, yes, you can service those. And then there's, you know, there's several solder points. I'm not good at soldering, but, you know, some people are good at soldering. If it was broken, you could potentially just put it back. Then it would work. I don't know. Somehow I don't think Wacom really is encouraging. Do I have this on contiguous? Where's that? Oh, that's going through the tie. There it goes. Yeah, I don't know. Figure out something. I love these tablets though. They really make this drawing so easy and so smooth, or at least, you know, my version where it's all like sanded with jeweler's rouge is the style that I like. I was worried when I originally sanded this that I was gonna get through the top somehow and mess it up. I'm just gonna select this, expand that, flip it, and then boom, like that. One click. I was worried about getting my breaking through like the top layer of plastic on the tablet. But there, you know, getting a look at it as I took it apart, there is quite a thick layer, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. So if you've got like scratches, I just sanded mine out and it worked. And now I like the smooth version better than the one with all that expensive toothing that Wacom has decided to go with to make it feel more like paper. Let's see. I got a little problem there. I'm just going to select this and get Shane over here real quick so I don't have to worry about these colors. Now this is a big long line. I should be able to like can expand that another one. Another go around. Now if I do this to get that interior line so I don't have to paint down that whole line, I don't want to get that steering wheel either because that steering wheel needs to actually be deleted. But I do want to get the outside of this, so it's worth going back and making a full selection with like a lasso tool. No, wrong layer. That's the other problem. If you're switching between layers all the time, like I am, chances are you might just do something bad. Paint on the wrong layer. Oops. Oh, well, that's why. That's why. There's another way. If you hit A, you can go into this mask select and then kind of see what you're doing. You can change that from bright red to another color. Sometimes useful. Where is, what do I have here? I should be painting his tie, not painting around his tie. Half of this flats problem is like getting your mind in this constant state of, okay, triage this. How is the simplest way to attack this image? And, you know, it's kind of like you get into the pattern of thinking that so much and it's exhausting. It's tiring because you're constantly solving a puzzle. You know, do this first. What is the fastest way to get something done? I think I'm like, I don't know what I was doing with lines here, but I think that this should be going like that. Wait. Like his stomach here should be coming, deselect, in, no, I'm gonna have to invert this. Do it like that. Get the inverted again. I'm like completely messing up these selects. But I should be able to just get the neck here. Get that and that. Oh, that's a bad swipe along the tie. It's always the light colors that really show up. You know, you can run over lines with dark colors easy and it doesn't matter, but if you get the light colors, mess them up, you will know. And of course I'm doing these lines in color eventually, so what I do in that process ends up smoothing out any flat problems that I have under the lines. So even if I don't do these selects well, and I still leave some of my original color out there, what I do later kind of covers it up, hides it. Let's see, I'm missing his shoulder. It's like, stare at the marching ants long enough and everything seems to be marching. Did I get him? Mostly. Okay, and I needed a gap right there. Did that expand? I guess it did. And now he's hauling out this passport. Now, I was worried about this earlier. Like, how do I make it look like a passport? I've got the seal, and they're dark blue, but other than that, I mean, because it's kind of odd that you'd be carrying your passport around, which is, what am I doing? Why isn't this? Sometimes in the most recent couple of Photoshop updates, it's had a hard time if you switch between windows, coming back and recognizing the brush tool. It'll get the other tools, but it won't get the brush tool. That's been a somewhat bothersome thing. But it has not been as bothersome as they changed their algorithm for select, so that it's like all or nothing in a weird way, even if you change the tolerance. So if you're selecting transparent, if you change the tolerance, it won't like start selecting color. You know. See, paint it side by side and you go, oh yeah, that's the wrong color. But it looks, I mean, it looks different when it's his hair. It looks right when it's his hair. Those crazy colors always mess me up. So Photoshop's change that they've done recently that I'm not super keen on is, you know, because when I'm selecting outside my lines and I'm selecting these transparent stuff, it won't bleed into the semi-transparent thing. So if I mess up on my lines and I've got an area where I don't have it erased 100% because, say, my eraser got off of 100% by accident, then it'll just select the transparent, and it'll never bleed into the semi-transparent, which it used to, which I liked that feature. Now that's gone. That's right. Passports are like dark blue, right? And I am on the lines layer. I might as well keep that since that selected his fingers pretty good, except for that other one. So I'm on the flats, good. Make sure and seal that off. And I didn't seal it off, even though I tried. Just paint the whole thing. Make sure the opacity is 100%, because if the opacity isn't 100%, later on you get things that just look weird. And passport, let's see. Oh gosh, I don't want that guideline there. What's that? View, clear guides. I should probably not have the ruler there because I'm accidentally dragging it down. Sometimes I want guides, sometimes not. Okay, so passport pages are kind of like, they're this sort of pinkish, warmish gray, so I'm going to pick a pink and just take it like a lot more gray. Kind of like Grant's suit, but that's about right. Okay, go for that. And then this is going to be a wallet, so make it a nice leather wallet. Grab a brown. And then I guess he's going to have like cash and credit cards, so maybe a little bit of the brown. And, you know, what color credit cards should he have? His credit cards or somebody else's credit cards? Let's see, what's a good green? That's a terrible green. That does not look like money. What money is going to be a little yellower. No. Yeah, yellower. Yeah, like that. A little darker. Like that, right? Okay. And credit cards. Let's see. We'll do like a red one, because red is one of those colors that'll just pop out at you. And a gray one. And a, I don't know, any colors? Some goofy color. Oh wow, that's just like the money color. I can't do that. Blue, why not? Red, green, blue. Kind of has like an airline look to it. Next. Stop that. Let's do like 3. Oh, I want this when I can turn my eraser from brush to pencil. I don't want it grabbing any pixels by halves. I want this to be a solid selection, so I should have probably had that on pencil anyways, but I wasn't using the eraser before, so whatever. Get his shirts. I remember to draw the cufflinks and then I forget to put their color in. So I've got to remember to do that now, because I remember drawing that cufflink about 15 times on this page. And what color is this cufflink? It's like bright blue, because he is wearing a sapphire cufflink in the ocean.
Oh, that's the wrong color.
There we go. Because he is a wretch. Everything he does is wretched, at least according to Grant. Oops. Come on. I have never found a really good way to get all these like spindly hair strands. They never really come out right. Then I forget to say highlight. I try to make them open so I can get in when I'm doing my flats and select everything if I need to shade it, and it's just, I don't know, it's really tough. I've got to work on that. I got to figure that out. I have not settled my mind about how to best attack that problem. Here, have this arm. That is a hole. Delete the flat there. Something here, and his jacket. There's also a flat coming, or a hole coming in under his shoulder that I missed before. Come on. Did I miss that? Just select that, delete it, wrong line, wrong layer. I hope I didn't mess up my line. No, I didn't. Okay. I hate that when you're drawing merrily away and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait, I'm on the wrong layer. I have screwed up all of this work. And I have to take it out and do it again because I will regret it later if I don't. That is one of the reasons why I draw the lines not with a pencil tool, but with a brush tool so that there's some opacity to the edges. So if I just like go in on the lines layer and try and, let's see it better with like a different color. If I fill that shirt like that on the lines layer, you can see it doesn't fill all the way. And that's my red alert, you're on the wrong layer. Little warning system that early warning system. I didn't used to do that. I'm glad I do that now. And he's looking over the car seat. checking on their passenger. Like he needs to look over the car seat to check on their passenger, but you know, good show, good show. There we go. Where is that? There we go. More flats. How many frames is this? Am I not done yet? Should be getting, I think I'm at least halfway through the flats. They really do go pretty fast though, I shouldn't complain. See how I did the other one and then I did this one totally different? I don't even have a rhyme or reason to this, I'm just making it up as I go. But the main tools are the magic wand tool, the mask tool, which I'm using now. Every time I do that though, it kind of blurs out my vision. I can't see so great. The pencil tool, the pencil eraser, the lasso select tool. Oh, and there's this weird sequence of keyframes that I'm using for the lasso select tool that I haven't gone over. Maybe I should now. So I'm getting that with the magic wand tool and swapping over to my lasso, which I've mapped to Z. I don't know if that comes standard. You can press, I've got it set on like add selection, so if I just like grab something, it'll add to my current selection. But what I want to do here isn't minus selection, it's do a what is this? A intersect. So I hit Alt and Shift, click, and then hit Alt again, and then it lets me drag and draw, and that's how you get a nice selection. Take that bit off. So it's Alt and Shift, then you click, or to do the intersect, you have to have a selection, but it's Alt and Shift, the thing turns to an X, you click, and then you hit Alt again, and you can draw, and then it's like a nice little leash. It's really useful, so you can work your way around and make a very complicated selection. And of course, Command D to deselect stuff if you need to deselect stuff, which I'm always needing to. So I try and map all my really important things over to the one hand. So I do minimal hand movement. All about saving the wrist, because I do not want to develop carpal tunnel. I follow a lot of artists and nobody thinks it's going to happen to them, just like I think it's not going to happen to me. But it happens to a lot of artists, and it doesn't happen to some. Or at least not yet. But eternal vigilance seems to be warranted, because it's doctor bills and months of break from art. It's just really difficult. Really sad stories I've read from, some very, very prominent artists on DeviantArt, where, they just kept ignoring it, trying to work through it, hoping it would go away, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse, and then all of a sudden, no going back, and it's rotator cuff surgery, and, all these other bad things like arthritis of the fingers. Just, did I forget the cufflink there? No, can't see the cufflink there. Cufflink's on the outside. So raising it so it is, I've got the cufflink on the right side. Good. I get it now while I'm thinking about it. Delete that little thing. I didn't used to have to do those because the new change in Photoshop is what's causing that problem. Oh well, I really like the changes that they generally do in Photoshop though. They are constantly making it better, and I think they just added support for my GPU, which everybody promised me it would make things go faster and easier, and it actually hasn't. But it did crash Photoshop. It was like, boom, the whole computer went down like 2 hours ago. And it sent me a notice saying, we have detected a problem with your display. You know, your GPU XYZ is not functioning the way we wanted it to, so we decided to burn it to the ground. And, yeah, I don't know. So, speaking of burning things to the ground, save. Should be sitting here doing all this stuff without saving. I should be saving like after every single image. There we go. I'm hitting F to swap through these windows. I don't know if you can see that because I mapped the display thing. But you can go from the normal window to extended window to like full screen, and then you hit tab to bring in your panels if you want them. Just have my regular window up so I can see my save progress. Not really in a section where I need a huge amount of screen space to do my job. Now that cufflink, kind of highlighting it here by putting it in the middle of the panel for reasons which are currently known only to me, but they're coming up. We're about to spring that one in the comic. That whole subplot. I've been hinting at things solidly enough for long enough, I think. Yeah, oh, I always loved this. I think I had originally I had a model these hands of like, what does it look like when you're fiddling with your tie? I've always loved these hands. And my original angles were of course wrong, but they're better now, and I kept the hands. And also I wasn't inking the same way then as I am now. And the big thing that I've learned about inking, because forever it was like people would tell me, you know, I don't know what it is, but your lines just look wrong. I'm like, oh, great, well that's helpful. They're wrong, okay. Wrong how? Don't know, but they're just wrong. So for a while, I went 100% paper inking, and I tried traditional inking with pencil and then marker, and then I realized that I could get the same effect from pencil alone, which I did for months. And at some point, I swapped back. I got lazy and ran out of paper and did a week like this, where I'm doing a sketch layer and then just an ink layer over that. And my strokes were better. And I realized that that all the practice, through all the years of practice, my hands had gotten smoother, steadier. And I could get the same effect on go away fly on the computer as I could on the paper, but it took a while to kind of build up the hand strength to manage it. And when I say a while, it was like more than a year of 12-hour-a-day drawing. Now let's see what is going on here. So this, I know what's going on here. Don't do this. What just happened? I don't want to liquefy result. I hit something with my left hand and I hope nothing important has been deleted. Should probably zoom out and check. Did I like delete half of stuff? Oh no, but I'm almost done with my flats. Like I got like 3 more. 5 more. Then it's the grayscale, the real long slog. Expand that, delete. This is also, he's holding the steering wheel. Let me turn off my mask so I can see. Okay, so he's holding the steering wheel there. He's also holding this, this is also steering wheel. Delete these flats. And then this is going to be his jacket, or his, see, kind of on the other side through the steering wheel. It's so difficult yet satisfying to have these characters, the 2D characters, interacting with these 3D objects. And that's something that I really enjoy doing with this. Messed up his head. There we go. But it also really helps to sell the backgrounds, because the backgrounds, especially in this state, they look very fake, and 3D backgrounds generally tend to. Case in point. What is the Elsa Snow Queen? It wasn't the Snow Queen, was it? It was called something. I forget what that movie was called. When Disney decided that they were going to go 100% 3D, I thought, oh no, it's the passing of an era. Because I don't like the way that full 3D looks. It's just, I know it's easier. It's a lot easier. It takes a lot less time and effort and thought. And it just doesn't look the same. I don't like it. Alright, now this one is kind of coming outside. I'm just going to select that, and I'm going to shrink the selection instead of expand it, because I think I just erase these. Can't press delete in this configuration or I'm going to regret it. Yeah, I don't know. There's something about Uncanny Valley in 3D that, I mean, some characters have been done really, really well in 3D. But just don't look right. Do not look right to me. I'm still on the lines layer. Still saving too. I'm trying not to do anything super compute heavy until the save is done. I think Disney had a kind of a late art improvement phase where they were using 3D models to do their hand-drawn stuff, and then they were using like this strange combo paint together, which I thought really worked, and I've always admired it. I think like Hunchback of Notre Dame uses this, where they've got the cathedral all the houses and even a lot of the characters as 3D characters, but they do it in a way that isn't jarring against the 2D animation. And I always liked the way that fit together. So I guess Studio Ghibli does some. Well, I know they do a lot of 3D modeling of their big pieces, their big set pieces. I'm not sure whether they use that in the final film. What happened here? Are my eyes going weird? My eyes are going weird. Okay, we missed his hat. So his hat did not pick up. So I'm just going to paint it in. Oh, I know why. I know why my eyes are going weird. I'm doing it against the real background and not against the mask. All of a sudden I was like, I can't tell the difference between the shirt and the skin color. That's bad. I know there's a difference there, and I know those are different colors, so something went to 50% or what? I don't know. Yeah. Gotta keep my transparency lock on if I'm going to paint it like this. I always loved all those old animated films. Oh yeah. Let's see if I remember which pieces I had to delete before. Frozen. Frozen's the name of that film where they did it all in 3D. And I just looked at it and went, that could look better. Of course, it was smash hit, widely received, highly popular, but I was like, this isn't going to go down in history as an artistic masterpiece. I mean, Toy Story did this better years ago. But, you know, hey, maybe they made the movie with 20 people in a garage somewhere. Not. But you really could make a movie like that with 20 people in a garage. The tools that are available nowadays are just incredible. I saw another really interesting one that I'm going to have to look into. Adobe has a little program called Character Animator. And it was for taking 2D characters and just like giving them a lame walk cycle. But it had facial tracking. And you could basically turn a 2D character into a puppet, like lay out the face demarcations and turn, you know, then give like a performance and have it mirrored to an extent in the character, which that's a huge time saver if you're going to look at animating something. And I'm looking at animating something because why not? 100 years from now and it's finally finished. And I thought, that's a really interesting tool. I wonder when I'm finally ready to take a look at these things, I bet there will be a lot of advancements in stuff. And I'm going to enjoy researching that and taking advantage of that. Eventually, hopefully. Now, let me just grab this whole shirt. Expand. Looks relatively good. Let me get the external pieces. almost done with flats here. And did I get that piece? I think I did, yeah. Alright, go back to flats. Get these stupid cufflinks. Get the tie. And there's that. Oh look, this is a nice easy one. One little corner. Oh, don't do that. It was supposed to be easy. There we go. I love these headshots. They're so easy to draw. You know, after you're drawing somebody doing a fireman's carry, it's like, oh, and all I have to do here is a picture of Grant making a frowny face and yelling at him. That's... See, I'm using the wrong color. There you go. Hat color, hair color. They're right next to each other. They always mess me up. But it's good to have a wide mix of stuff. Each panel or each strip certainly I'm looking at as a complete unit, where I always start with some kind of establishing shot. If I don't do it in the first panel, I'm certainly going to do it by like the third panel at the very least, the very latest. And I learned that the hard way, well, just over failing to do that a lot. And now as I'm coming back into stuff, I'm like, why do people find this so confusing? And I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh yeah, well that's why. I'm not giving any kind of reference. And if you've got to have geographical reference to make people comfortable with the newness of the story, I think. Having a lot more landscapes in these first couple ones, and speaking of a lot more landscapes, I'm going to have to put in some big ones here at the end, and I haven't figured out, I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. I'll probably look at that here in a second. We've got Shane in the back seat. And I think that was the last frame. I don't like those lines. Oh well, whatever. I'll just keep moving forward, and eventually things are going to come together. Now, why does everything seem so dark? Oh, because I was using those different cars. I have to re-render that with this other light on. Or maybe I just re-render it off. Well, that looks weird. Oh, look at this. Remember that transform? It transform warped all of this stuff. Remember I was like, zoom out. Oh, I hope it didn't screw something up. It screwed something up. Alright. Well, I'm going to see if I've saved since then. I have, haven't I? Let's see, I just screwed up. Oh, am I going to have to redo those lines? I sure hope not. Yeah, look at that. It just did that really messed things up. Not the flats layer, but it messed up the lines layer. Well, I'll save this, see if I've got the flats, and I'll open up the original file and see how far I've messed up. See, I always do this. Let's open this up, see how bad it is. It's probably bad. That seemed like it was a while ago, so I shouldn't be talking to myself for 2 hours. Oh, but I've got it in a backup drive. I've got it from last night, or even from this morning, in a backup drive. That's probably what I'll do, because my backup drive is plugged in. Oh, and of course it's going to take forever to open this. So let me take a look at my backup drive. No, it's coming in. We'll see whether I have to do that now or not. Yeah, that one's screwed up. Alright, well, let's see. Gonna open up Time Machine. I don't know what it did with that. It just like did that filter. I didn't like move anything. But I saw it running and I was like, what? Let's see. Enter. Yeah, there we go. That's how you get in, not through system. Probably not going to show this fighting that I've got. Where is it? Where did it go? Come on, enter. I clicked on it. Do I have to be out of the file? Let's see. Let me get out of the file. This is going to be really boring because you won't be able to see it. Yeah, I do want to save the redo because the flats, at least the second half flats, are in the right spot. And I want to get out of this. This is really boring. Sorry. How long have I been doing this? Should I just save the grayscales for some other time? But I do want to do the grayscales. I'm doing the grayscales today, so. In fact, I kind of wanted to get finished on this today. Alright, oh, how are we doing? Have a cup of cold coffee. Can I just restore a specific file? And I want to do this from like today at, when did I start this? Like 2 o'clock, I think. And what is it? CGC 1.1.7. Capitalize. Now, do I have to restore the whole thing? No, I should be able to just get the file. I'm gonna have to look up how to do this. Derail. It's not letting me search for the file. It's in, which folder is it in? Actually, it's just not showing me anything. Let's see. Restore a single file from Time Machine. Oh, I'm so bad at this. Don't send me push notifications. Why do you do this? And open the folder, navigate back to the restore time, and then just restore, click the restore button. Okay. Why was Finder not working when I was trying to search? Okay. Go to here. It's this file. And I want this from today at like whenever I started this. What is it, like 2 o'clock? Let's take a look. I think I finished my lines yesterday. Or did I finish the lines today? I don't even remember. Like, open this. Keep both. 400 megabytes. Ah, it's moving pretty quickly. Wow, it's already 5:30. Goodness. 5 seconds. Now, you should be able to go in there and get, I don't know which one is the original here. It's been forever opening files. Here we go. Now you can watch a swirly ball thing. Of course, I may want to get a later file than this. I don't know. But oh, it only messed up the early lines. Those were all done by 2 o'clock. Even if I did some work on the later ones today, those should all be done. And this is why you have backup. That could have irritated me. Of course, the silhouette's the hardest thing. So, you know, since the flats weren't messed up, I did have the flats as a silhouette. It wouldn't have been too hard to redo the flats. It would have been really irritating. And what do we have? We have... This is still the messed up one. And... Now, I don't know if that's because this was the one that Time Machine restored, so let me open that one and see. This is how I end up with terabytes and terabytes of data. I'm going to go back. Once I get this straightened up, I'm going to consolidate these and delete the ones that I don't need. But it's like really difficult to delete things when stuff like this happens. Wow, this is taking forever to read. Oh well. Are we in yet? Yeah, we're in. Here we go. There's the lines. So I'm just going to take the lines, duplicate them to a new layer, or a new document, actually. Then I'm going to get rid of this. And I'm going to open up the other one, it's like constantly open and close. I wish I had enough RAM that I could like have multiples of these open. Check in with Blender while these are doing stuff. What's going on with Blender? Oh, I needed to redo that car. Let me do that real quick. I needed to redo frame 5. And I obviously, when I originally did this, I had my focal length set something else, like there or so. I'm gonna go with 15. It's a common focal length for me. Let me redo this frame. See if I get it right. Okay, back to Photoshop while that's rendering. Okay, so here's the messed up one. And but I opened the wrong one because this one I was trying to get saved without. I wish I could just like open the one layer that I need. I'm going to see if I can get both of these open. It's only taking 1.6 gigabytes of RAM. I have 4. It'll probably work. While I'm running the 3D rendering program in the background and the streaming program, which is taking up 10% of the CPU cycles. Oh, wow. But I'm going to grayscale, so you just got to fight through this. So we want to see the grayscale. I'm doing the grayscale today. We're not stopping. So I want the flats from the one that's opening, and I want the lines from the previous one, and I want them to go into this one, because this is the right file. It's more interesting to watch the render. Here we go, watch the render. I didn't want to make this car super detailed because getting started with the backgrounds, I was doing a lot of, was doing a lot of painted backgrounds, and because of the 3D photorealism issue, or not even a photorealism issue, it's just sort of a 3D uncanny valley issue. I wanted to keep things simple for now. Okay, Photoshop's done its thing. Alright, so I get the flats from here. We're going to duplicate this layer to that one, the correct layer. So we got all the right flats, right? And I'm going to duplicate these lines to the correct one as well. Yep. And we're going to turn off the bad lines. We got the good lines, they all line up. Alright, disaster averted. And I forgot Grant's hair and hat and those. But, and what, okay, so we're going to keep the lines for these because the restore happened before I drew those, I guess. So which one was it again? Okay. So I am going to take these lines, flip that, and delete them from there on up. I'm probably going to combine those layers. Calculate, calculate. Oh, now it's gone from 1.6 gigabytes of RAM, or to 1.9 gigabytes of RAM being used, just by adding 2 layers. Alright, well the flats are obviously fine, so I can kill this, and that's going to free up some CPU. They're done. Okay, and now I'm going to turn the mask layer back on and just carefully take a look at this, make sure that I'm getting this right. So these all line up. These all line up. Missed his arm there. We fix that. Ah, come on. Register. Recognize. Oh wow, just stopped registering anything, you know, something bad's going on. It's time to save this. We got an arm, we got a couple of things, but this is, the lines are lined up, so we fixed the main issue that was going on. And I'll do these quick fixes. Uh-oh, messed up his skin back there. And then we're going to go on to grayscaling. If it saves, and it better save. Okay, it's going. It's just taking forever. Technical difficulties are not worth stressing over. But they can be really frustrating. What was this, like 20 minutes of just disaster? Oh well. Come on, you're almost done. I can probably do this now. Yeah, it'll probably let me. It's not going to totally crash. It's not letting me paint. Oh, that's because, wait. It should be letting me paint. Oh, right. I've got 2 flats layers. That's why. No wonder. There we go. Fix that. Do some quick fixes here. And then we'll go to the grayscale. And I can talk about that for hours. Oh, I'm missing something up there. That's right, I never finished that. Get his kind of laggy now, can you see? Of course I'm trying to paint with this like way far away. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom way out. And I'm going to turn off that second flats layer, which I think is the incomplete flats layer. I'm going to get rid of it because 2 gigabytes of RAM does bad things. The sketch layer, I don't need that anymore. So I'm getting rid of that. I still need my flats layer. Alright. I'm painting on the wrong layer. But we are restored from disaster, so that's always a good feeling. Okay, so this is just this duplicate frame. I missed his hat here. And it is so laggy, I'm just going to kind of go with the old lasso tool, because the lasso tool never lags. Paintbrushes, all those, I don't know why, but the paintbrush lags, the lasso tool doesn't. So you get in a tough situation, go for the lasso. Of course, I'm doing badly with this selecting. This is always the light colors. You see the light colors. This is a duplicate, and if I was really feeling lazy, I would just duplicate it, but I'm not. So I'm just chopping them. Even the lasso tool is starting to lag. Uh-oh. Look at how slow the render is going. That should be done by now. Let's see. Just hair color. Fill that in. What else do I have? Looks about right. Got all the flats generally done. Alright, that's good. I'm calling it. Now I'm going to turn this mask on to like halfway or so. But I kind of want to match the, or at least I want to know where the lights are coming from. So, grayscales. I'm going to command click that flats layer to select all of the painted stuff. Make a new layer. And then I'm filling it with 25% gray. And given the amount of time that this is taking, I'm going to do another save right here. But you can see the backgrounds, you can see, okay, so there's a light source coming this way. Let me check on Blender real quick. Why is Blender taking so long? Like the last one took 5 minutes. This one's taking 10? What did we like change the sampling rate again? I should only be doing 100 samples. It's just going that slow. I suppose Photoshop was chewing up so much memory. 1920 by 1080 with 100 samples. That should take 5 minutes, even if I'm running Photoshop, not 40. Wow. Maybe Time Machine is still running. Is that why we were having? No, it's not still running. Probably Photoshop is just being a bear and has decided that it's used all its RAM, has to go to sleep for the day. I just have to let it save. Look at how it's fighting. Okay. It is fighting because I haven't dealt with the car layers. So I'm going to deal with the backgrounds now. So that's the first one. There's the second one. We are going to combine those. The fewer layers I have, the fewer problems I have. This one, I can turn that off. That's just a background. I want to keep the car and these Terrigen renders separate. So I'm gonna make this and call it Terrigen. And I'm gonna keep, I don't know what that is. Where did that one go? I don't think I need that. I think we are done. So I'm going to delete that whole layer. Where's this one? I think I did a re-render of that car. That's definitely behind now. Okay, so these render twos, those go in the Terrigen piece, and these are all Blender renders, and those are going to be the car insides. Where's this one? That one is not, oh yeah, it is present. Okay, so that's that car, that's that car. So these are going to be car. There's another car. There's another car. This one is a interior. That's an interior. That's an interior, because the interiors I've got to put some Terrigen renders behind the windows. That's the Terrigen render. And I should also do some like painting on the outside. That should say interior. That is a car, but it's also an interior. I don't know. I didn't need that layer mask. I already selected those windows. That one, interior. Where is this one going?
Alright, also car interiors.
I just have to make sure and keep these interior layers over these Rend 2 layers. That's the Terrigen render. Just using the same Terrigen render frame.
And this, what's this?
That's that car 5 that I'm re-rendering. That's that interior. Maybe I shouldn't be re-rendering that one. And that's the last one. Okay, so now how's we're doing 1.37 instead of 2. Okay, that's better. That's better. So these are the interiors. These are the cars that are the external car renders. That's the Terrigen render, and that's frame 1. And then this was my guide base from the other one, but I took all of the dialogue off of that. I got all my text layers. I don't have any painting that I need from that, I don't think. So I'm going to delete that one too. Alright, one, and I can start on the grayscale while that's saving, because that'll have gotten me some breathing room. So grayscale. I lock the layers, and like I said, I'm doing this all in 25% gray. I will reverse my foreground and background with X, and on my other grayscale, I want 50% gray. I will get back to my brush, and the brush that I'm going to be using is the basic 100% soft brush. I think it's default, and I'm using it on 100% flow and opacity. I'm also going to be using that same brush on the brush blend, and honestly, I changed those things so much that I don't really know my correct ways. I've got the same brush on the dodge and the burn tool, as you can see here. And I usually keep the burn tool at, well, get back here, 60%, and the dodge tool at like 30%. And I'm changing those numbers just by hitting my my keyboard numbers. And then I've got the smudge tool that I've obviously not put in the right thing. So I've got to get my basic soft brush on the smudge tool. This one goes to 80% normal mode. Okay, so I've got smudge mapped to D. I have dodge and burn mapped to Q. I've got my brush mapped to B, and my blend brush is just Shift B to cycle through it. So to get started on this, no smoothing. No smoothing, no lag. I block out the major shadow and the major light source with a very large brush. These guys are far away, but still the light's kind of coming from behind. I can take this to sort of sell the idea that people are bent over here, even when you can't really see it super well. And alright, so after I do that, I always get my ears, inside of the ear, underneath the jaw. Xander gets under the cheekbone. I'll swap to the blend brush, and depending on how I'm thinking it's looking, I'll either have it on the 50% or the 25% that's on 50% right now. Softening up these edges, very big brush still, but we're about to go into the detail. And then I'm going to come back in the shadow with the dodge, or the burn, and get the stuff like under the hand, under the arm, kind of back here. And now I'm going to go to the smudge tool. And this is one of the reasons why I'm really picky about having enough compute power, because this little tool takes a lot of compute power. But right now I'm going and getting all the darks, and then I'm smudging them out across where the shadows need to be. And this is how I build up that look, like on the wrinkles of the fabric that I always wanted. It took me forever to figure out how to do it, because this looks really good after the second step, which is I gradient map the grayscale. As you know, if you ever wondered why when you like multiply a grayscale against something it looks awful, it's because you need to gradient map the grayscale in, and that that puts more color, or you can choose the color that go in the shadow and the highlights, and that solves a lot of grayscale problems. Let's see. And one of the things that I've learned with the grayscale is just don't overdo it. Go for simple. I dodge it last, and I'm just dodging the high points, just a couple of spots. And, oh, didn't get the hair really. This can look really nice if you get the small brush in with the hair. Adds a lot of detail real fast. Just because the fade is really the right look for hair on. I'm using it on 80 because if I was really going to be picky, I would do it on 60% for the clothes, and maybe 80 or 90 on the hair, but I'm splitting the difference. All right, and then of course get that little bit of gloss on the hair here. And that is basic grayscale. For these guys that are far away, it's going to be even less detailed. Somehow that got set to 10. But just enough to like kind of show the basics, which way the light's coming from. Kind of the hat, his face, darken that up, pull that down and make those cloth folds. Pull a little in his arm, and just sort of brighten it up for Grant's knee there. Hat rim, top of the head, not much. So that's my grayscale. That's an awkward pose, but it does have like the motion that I wanted, so I'm not going to change that yet. Okay, so I go back, get my brush again, and block in the basic light source. Dark spots, light spots. I'm just gonna call like that. Get with the smoothing brush, since this is the external stuff. When I swap to inside the car, I'm probably gonna use a little bit lighter. I'm gonna go more for the 25% in that step rather than the 50.
just
a little bit. So you can back your colors forward and down. Just sort of get the right blend. Helps to have a little bit, you see that little like light line between my smudge tool that it makes? That's the key. That really, really helps this whole thing. Because that looks really good in the final paints, which are very easy when you've got a good grayscale. All right, moving on. I should be saving this. Don't make that mistake again. Well, save it when it's right. Don't save it when it's wrong. Let's see. I'm going to shadow his head because his arm is reaching. Grant's just bent over. It's kind of be basically all in shadow there. And come on, where did we go? It's just like randomly stops recognizing. Could be the electrical short issue, but I doubt it.
If it is, I'll just take it apart a little bit more and hack on it some more. Meanwhile, I'm going to plug in my redundancy one and I'm going to finish this grayscale because I want to get this done. This one needs to go out, or I really need to start thinking about what I'm going to do about number one, the big palace at the end. Whether I should use some model that I've already got, or whether I need to put together a more detailed one in order to make that look right. And also, I have to do I've got to do a good painting for that. I've got to do a good establishing shot kind of them kind of cresting up and seeing not just the palace, but the whole island, the city. Some nice lights. The fact that there's people there, it's not just totally dead. I'm going to call that. Grant doesn't need more. That's such a funny face. I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe I just think it's funny, but I think it's funny. So we're getting all of that's going to be in pretty solid shadow. Light was coming from behind them, as I recall. So his face is kind of going to be in shadow from this direction.
And Shane is going to be in shadow all over here. I've got that nice fireman carry. This is going to be pretty deep in shadow. Move like that. And then since Grant is like 100% facing the shadow, I like doing this light scheme that I'm going to do with him. He is like all in shadow. And this kind of works for his expression too, because he's like just completely left out here. So I am hitting the reverse. So I'm getting the top, and then you can see like the light is shining from behind Grant totally, but it's not totally from behind Xander. So this is a bit cheated, but it's I think it's right just because Grant is in such a bad mood. And things are lagging, so save it. How is the Blender render doing? Oh, gee, I set it on Blender, so you're watching the Blender render go by, and I'm talking all about the grayscale, and you can't even see it. Wow. I'm really bad at this. So, let's see. No, back. Too many pieces of software to fiddle with at once. Go back to my burn tool. So it's hard to find the words for these things after you've been just like using them for so long without actually thinking about them in words. Which one's dodge? Which one's burn? And get this. Even on the bright edges, I like to add the curve by shadowing it a little bit. And if you need that edge to be like a total light source, like we really kind of do, you can either, I'm just going to like go back and rim light it, because this is going to sell Grant's lighting scheme there, just like that little bit of rim light. So I'll do the same thing here, where it goes dark, but then it goes light again. And see, then that makes it look like a rim light around a curved object rather than just lightening it or just darkening it. Part of making it look curved. Like that tie, I should be like selecting the flats, because that's why you do the flats, so you can select them in this sort of thing and then paint it easier. But I'll do that if I have to have a really, really nice detailed image, but generally I haven't needed to. Look at how much like detail and wrinkle I can pull in here just in the grayscales. Like no lines, and you add a lot of detail just by doing this step. I do need to get under this arm though, because that is sticking out. So I've selected those flats. I've made sure to go back. At this stage, I hit this paintbrush button on the flats layer, because if I don't, then I am sure to paint on the flats layer by mistake. And then I'm just going to go to my tool there and really darken up under the whole thing, just like that. And that's good. And now we look up the move this up. I want that to be a little stronger. When I hit it, I thought it wasn't going. A little bit on the face here. Dodge. It's gonna kind of come into that one eye, but not really. Got the shirt here. Once I'm done, like doing this redo, I don't know if I'm gonna do these live streams. It's weird, like talking to myself for 2 hours. Alright, we're getting Grant here. I'm really kind of lagging on this poor tool, but it's probably because I'm trying to run the Blender render simultaneously. And here's where we can really make Grant look like he's soaking wet. So I'm not going in and softening this edge. This is like a hard edge. And I'm just adding all of that detail kind of back in
It's not actually in the lines, because I like my lingua claire. Claw, or however you say it. But I do want the detail to be there, especially in this, where it's kind of, I don't know, it's a humorous moment at Grant's expense. He is miserable, he is soaked, and he is about to give Xander an earful. He has been giving Xander an earful, but you know, he's about to vocalize the earful that he's already been giving Xander for the last 20 minutes. Yeah, look at that now. That's a nice bright light kind of coming from behind him. It looks right. So we'll shadow his face even more. Look at this black mode. Go back to my blend brush, so blend that a little lighter. His hat is going to be dripping and stuff. Fix up that collar. And then a little bit on the tie. And he's done. Calling that done. Yes, and oh, by the way, this I think is the first real demonstration of Xander being telekinetic, so Grant is angry at him for like a good reason. What are you doing? What are you messing around for? So he's like turning back, so he's turning into the light here. So we're gonna get the full light. It's all like lagging and jittery. How long is Blender gonna mess me up here? It's like taking 36 minutes already. Shouldn't be taking that long. And recognize the tablet, yep. But we're still in shadow over here. So like that point on the wrist. His whole head is going to be in shadow, basically. Up the top of it. But like that. It's all in shadow. And the inside of that arm. Probably both those legs. And definitely under the chin. Probably a little bit under that eye. Not so much, but like that. Okay, and then I'll get to my blender brush. And I'm going darker, so I'm going to just, this one actually, that jaw edge actually needs to go lighter. But underneath, it'll go darker. And we're going to pull that up while I'm thinking about it. Back to my brush. Smooth this whole transition out. It's still really lagging, isn't it? It's been lagging ever since the whole lines disaster issue, though. It could just be Photoshop has decided that it's not happy. I've noticed that it's been doing that more recently. But it's generally pretty good. It's really pretty solid recovery program. If it crashes itself, I've only had a handful of times where it doesn't like give you at least some kind of a recovery document. I've definitely had times where it's caused problems, but it's like it won't corrupt your file because it'll just not save anything. It's pretty good at not corrupting a file. Never had it corrupt a major file. But then again, that's why I have backups of everything. Except, you know, in phases like this where I'm working on stuff, I don't have backups of these as I'm going, except I've got the backup disk plugged in, so I guess that's set to run every half hour, so I'm not going to lose more than half an hour's worth of work. Which at this rate, if the computer would work faster, I could get a lot more done in half an hour. This is going dog slow. Add some of these folds, wrinkles, not too many. A little bit of shading at this angle. And then dodge it. I should get the inside of his cheek. Sallow-faced. Sallow-faced and mean. And that shoulder is the main point of this shading job. A little bit on the neck too. Blend that back. I don't think anything on the head. I think that's done. Now I'm hitting save after every single thing. Don't want to mess this up again. Now this whole side, because the moon is kind of behind, is going to be, his head is going to be in shadow, just like, kind of like that. And of course, in there. And then Grant, well, just like these like looming side figures that sort of fill up the frame. This is part of that, you know, I'm building a little bit of tension by having, you know, having this shading thing where he's like totally in shadow and lit from behind, and then, you know, Xander gives him this like little defiant look, but Grant is still looming in the side of the frame here. He is still this, and so I am going to darken up this figure a bit. He is still this threatening figure off to the side. That's, I think, probably why I chose to frame this frame with Grant still in it. It's just this little bit of, I don't know, non-verbal storytelling. It tells you a little bit about their relationship. And what do we have? This is going to be heavily blended because the light's coming across that back. This is going to be very much darker. Now my gradient map, I'm kind of debating whether I should use the same gradient map that I've been using in the sequence so far. Whether I should go back, I should probably go back and that's right, because I had a gradient map for when they were in the car in like 1 and 2. I should use that same gradient map for some of this, because the storm has stopped. I don't want to use that storm green gradient map, that was so dark. And you see, you can add in like all kinds of detail pretty easily with this method. Just, you know, hit the high spots. This is not even a close-up, but it's much better to drag in the light rather than just paint in the light. All right, I'm gonna call that one. That one looks fine. And oh, hear those cracks? Can you hear those? It's a lot of cracking. Right, the light's coming from there. I'm not imagining this. So he's come across his shoulder here, and it's not going to hit his leg. And it's going to cross his arm like that, because his arm's behind the seat. And it's going to be dark in the curve, and then it's going to be dark under his palm, sort of. On the inside of that, these other fingers are going to shadow the other fingers. And it's sort of dark, sort of light on the outside. Alright, now what's Shane doing here? Let's see. He's going to be light on the inside of that leg, top of that arm, dark in here, light more on that leg, and then just like the shadow of the arm there. Okay, so that's fine. Now this is where I was thinking things were getting lighter, and I might swap to blending back the shadow instead of blending it forward. It's just very slightly. It's just making this transition a little smoother. Andrew's doing a bit of his evil face here. And I don't want it smooth transition on the hand, because I kind of want this like feeling of lit, because he's like, we're seeing some magic stuff here. I want it to feel like it's not lit from within, but it's like lit from what he's doing. Like he's generating his own light. That's really harsh though. Blended a little bit more than that. But it you know, you get the idea. Come on. Stop lagging. Always lags here. Always. Alright, get back to the burn tool. Add a little bit of color that I can then pull up. It's better to pull the color than to paint the color. Just looks better. Because then, see, I can pull in a little bit light from the background. Unfortunately, I can't calculate these. I see people like painting with the smudge tool. I'm like, oh, I wish I could do that. I just can't. Do not have the compute power. I want that to be a nice hard shadow right there. And see this. And you can get these beautiful, like just tiny little folds and things with this smudge tool. It just makes the cloth like so much nicer. And I like the way it looks better than if you drew out all the lines. So if you know, drew in every single one of these with a with, inked all of these things, you'd have something that looks like the standard comic page style, because a lot of inkers do that. And I think it looks too crowded. That's too much black. I like it, just a little bit more subtle shading. Rather than, we don't have to do everything black and white because printing processes have improved so much, and that the tons of comics nowadays, they're just online, all the indie ones. So everybody does their Kickstarter campaign eventually, I suppose. Chateau Grief is only online, and so I have all 64 million colors of the web that I can use, and I really, yeah, I love using the tools that are available because they're great tools. Let's see, how is this going? We are so almost done here. That should not have taken that long to render. How am I doing on my... I already hit save. Let's see, I've done like 5 frames. Sort of. Getting close to halfway there. Here's the point where I'm kind of like stuck in the middle. So I'll just box select the whole thing, so I'm not going to paint over my other art. That's really lagging. What can you do? All right, the passport issue. I can think about that while I'm trying to paint here. Grant is like... See, like the lines plus the grayscale can just really add a whole bunch of nice fine detail. And honestly, when you put the color in, you don't see it as much. But without it, it loses something. So I think it's worth it. Even if I am lagging so hard. I could go like 3 times this speed if the computer would behave. The computer's going to start behaving though once the Blender render finishes. I should not have started that while I was doing the grayscale, but oh well. I didn't start it while I was doing the grayscale. I started that when I thought I'm going to have to re-ink everything because I deleted everything by accident. That looks pretty good for Grant. Shane does not have to be super detailed. He's in the background. He's also all in a dark color. The dark colors don't show this quite as well. So sometimes I'll come back in and I'll lighten up my base flats to catch the color correctly. I am lightening up Grant's cheek here. I'm going to go in and add some shadow under there. And dodge this high spots. His face is in shadow. His jacket's kind of being pulled off the shoulder. It's like I'm spending... Alright. That's good. Same thing here. Shadow under the hat brim. He's leaning forward. So a pretty big shadow under his head. His arm. I'm playing like the light's coming from the windshield. So he's probably going to be casting a bit of shadow on his shoulder. And let's see. Smooths it out a little bit. Drag up something for this lapel. Drag down on the insides. Drag up on the outsides. So real fast, easy, and convincing lapel. Oh, stop. Butterfingers today. Same for collar. Yay, we're done with that. Oh, and look at that. Now we're twice the speed. Oh, I apologize, I'm taking too much RAM. But I did want to get to the grayscaling, because this is getting done. I can't leave this sitting around. Still lagging a bit, but it's not nearly as bad. Kind of more light coming in there. Under his finger. Give it a little depth. Not that much. It's just that passport. The hat brim. Which is probably, actually I should do that because it's kind of messed up. It got really wet and his hat probably needs to be reblocked. Get his face. And the high points. Yelling at you, Xander, because you deserve to be yelled at. All right. This is the tedious process, flats and grays. But sometimes it's like, I'm happy to do this so I don't have to decide all the things that I have to decide with the paints later. There's an insane amount of things that have to be remembered every single time. These eyes are going to be shadowed. He gets drawn with hollower face and hollower eyes if he's really feeling bad. It's part of how you flip him from, you know, looking like good-natured to like looking totally insane. It's how you cast the shadows around the face. Good face for casting shadows around lots of sharp angles. There we go. This just feels like that's like the wrong angle. This is an awkward pose. But that's why I did it, because I like awkward poses. It just feels more real if you've got awkward poses. If you freeze frame a movie, everything looks awkward. So for art, the key is to like get that little touch of awkwardness to make it look real, but not like actual freeze frame movie awkward. My frames are close together at this point because this is when I realized, oh yeah, I'm like running out of pixels. I have got to get this whole thing in somehow. See, I mess up. There we go. I get this thing in somehow without killing up my processing power, which, you know, you see how it can go bad. I only have a limited amount of processing power. Must use it wisely. And I'll tell myself, someday I'll get more processing power. Someday I'll be like, why did I spend all these years fighting with this when I could have, you know, tripled my processing power? Not a problem. We'll get there. Someday. It's like I've been telling myself for years, look, just keep doing it. Keep doing the art, and you'll get better at it eventually. And now I'm redoing everything because I did get better at it. So now I have more work to do. Never enough work. Especially, I love doing this as work. I look forward to it. It was really a fun experience to see exactly how much I was in art withdrawals with the tablet blowing up. I miss this. I love this. This is great. I'm spending a little bit more time getting softer transitions because this is a face close-up. So I backed the dodge tool down to 30%. Give me a little bit finer control. I'm going to sharpen that up for his shirt. Probably a nice glossy shirt. Worth doing a little bit of fiddling, not too much. And then this needs to actually be in shadow here. So that dark piece kind of anchors it. And I'm going to actually just select the flats. And I'm going to add a little bit more, yeah, like that, under these strands of hair. I can't spend too much effort on this, but every once in a while, when you're going to do a close-up, a little bit of extra effort helps. Alright, and then since Grant is like framing this again, I'm going to really keep him heavy in the dark. And also there's that like ceiling light, so I might actually do that same thing that I did before with Grant, where he was just, or oh yeah, you know what I do? I can do this, where the hat angle is like just showing his mouth, and then everything is gonna be an ominous shadow, but it's just like just the mouth, because he is just, you know, utterly whining at Xander in this scene. So see, there we go, just cut it off just like that, so he's been reduced to a mouth whiner. And put his eye in shadow. Smooth that out a little. I should be doing this in darker color. Back this down so I can get these shadowed planes, since I'm working darker than I usually do to get these. So that's quite dark. Darken this up so to balance it out. Because even though Grant is the one speaking, the way I'm framing this and the, you know, what Grant is saying and stuff, you get the sense that the focus is still on Xander. And you know, I'm wanting to give the impression that Grant is just being unreasonable here. He is not being unreasonable. But at this point, I think it's easiest to explain this whole thing if you think Grant is just being utterly unreasonable. Because it's easier to go with that than like launch into this explanation of, well, actually, Xander has a lot more power than he generally acts on. Why he doesn't act on his power as much as Grant would like him to is part of his character, actually. It's part of his story and, you know, kind of his guiding light. That face should be all in shadow, but the nose is sticking way out, so probably a little bit like that. I'm going to call the dashboard is going to put his legs in shadow, basically, but arm, shirt. This is where those hard-edged swipes just add tons really fast. Oh, wrong tool. Tons of detail, or like implied detail that's not actually there, because, you know, you add a little swipe forward and backward along all of these curves, and all of a sudden you've got this sense of dimension. And you've got the sense of the fabric, and you even get this sense of the glossiness of the fabric, which I really like. And this is going to be darker because this is all shaded. But it's twisted because he's twisting. See, I'm like really not even doing anything in these light areas over here. I'm just hit some of these high points. Alright, and since that's a duplicate picture Grant. That's, you know, a decent amount of work to redo that. I'm just going to copy these grayscales and move them down. Let's see. So I select the flats layer, copy the grayscaler, Shift Command V, duplicate, hold Shift as you drag it down, it'll keep it in line. I get it sort of in line, and then I can nudge the whole layer down with the arrow keys. And once it's all lined up, it's like, okay, fiddle up and down a little bit, merge it to the grayscale layer, and we're good. Except that frame is slightly different size. Oh man, how many more do I have? I've got several. I've got a lot more frames to do. I think I'm going to take a break after this one. We've done a lot. I'm going to call it after I finish Xander here. Then I'm going to come back and finish the grayscales. I'm going to start painting this. Let's see. Dashboard's hitting this shadow. He's sort of sitting up. Oh, who me? All innocent, like, oh. Because Grant just remembered about Corey here. It's like, what, did you let Corey die? So I'm just like, actually, no. Actually, she's in the trunk. I don't know, that trunk thing is such a funny, it's a good gag. Everybody laughs at that. It's like spluttering. Not what you would expect to do. And of course, you know, hey, Grant would yell at him too. What are you doing? That's ridiculous. And in a way, it's kind of like establishing the idea that, you know, he as a character, he's going to do some things that you don't really understand until later, but he has reasons for his actions. And as you find them out, you'll have to figure out whether they're good reasons or bad reasons, but he doesn't act on a whim. He doesn't act randomly. There we go. High point of the shoulder, get that collarbone in there. Getting collarbones in really helped define the dimension. Always the nose sticking way out. It's got its own weather system, that nose. There we go. And you can make the shirt look glossy by doing these thin, very white highlights just around the edges, the transition edges, just like that. So fine. All right, well, that was a marathon. How long have I been running this? Let's see. Let me go check. 2.5 hours. Wow. Well, hey, we did the flats. We're mostly done with the grayscales. I'll be done with the grayscale in another half hour, but that's 3 hours to do one strip. And it's going to take at least this amount of time or more to paint it in the end. It's probably going to take me at least 3 hours just to do either the model for the palace or the landscape painting that I need to do in addition to the model from the palace. So I will probably end up putting in an equal amount of time on both of those. Don't know if that's gonna be an interesting thing to live stream or not, but well, that's a problem for another day. If you watched, thank you so much, and hope you found something useful. If not, well, I don't know. Try this again, try it better next time. I don't have to get things right the first time. I will get things right the last time. All right, signing off.